If you're still asking where the list is, you're asking the wrong question. Ask who got protected. Ask who paid the price. This week, the national conversation once again spiraled around the so-called Epstein client list. The same question resurfaced. Where is it? Who's on it? When will it be released? And just like every other time, the obsession with the list revealed more about the public's craving for spectacle than their actual commitment to justice. At SWOP Behind Bars, we spent the week unpacking what this really means for survivors, for sex workers, and for anyone who's ever dared to hold receipts on the powerful. From Trump calling his own base stupid for caring about trafficking, to the mythologizing of the Black Book, to the survivors no one believed for years, we followed the threads that mainstream media refuses to pull. But this week, one name kept surfacing in a different light: Ghislaine Maxwell. And like so many things in this case, the conversation got murkier, messier, and harder to ignore. Let's review. Trump mocked the movement and exposed the playbook. Last week, Donald Trump didn't just dodge calls to release Epstein's records. He ridiculed his own supporters, calling them stupid Republicans and weaklings. Allies like Marjorie Taylor Greene scrambled to distance themselves, but the damage was done. He broke his own spell. For years, Trump's base was fed a steady diet of anti-trafficking rhetoric. Epstein was their deep state boogeyman. Now he's inconvenient. And Trump did what he always does when something threatens his control. He mocked the people who believed him. This wasn't a dog whistle, it was a slap in the face. We said last week, is this finally the thing that makes people turn on him? The obsession with the list is a distraction. We said it last week, and we'll say it again. The list isn't the point. The receipts already exist. Flight logs, court records, sworn survivor testimony. If law enforcement truly wanted justice, they've had more than enough to act. What they actually want is leverage, not justice. And sex workers know that game. We've lived it. We've watched information used as bait, as currency, as blackmail, but never as justice. This wasn't sex work, it was trafficking. Period. Let's be absolutely clear, what happened in Epstein's orbit was not high-end escorting. It was trafficking, brutal, orchestrated, and predatory. Girls as young as 14 were recruited, groomed, coerced, and raped, again and again, across borders, across time zones, with the help of adults who knew exactly what they were doing. And still, the survivors weren't believed. Not by prosecutors, not by law enforcement, not by the press, not until it was politically inconvenient not to believe them. This wasn't sex work. Ghislaine Maxwell, the conflicted middle of a rotten pyramid, spoke to the DOJ again. This week, Ghislaine Maxwell entered the headlines again, not just as the convicted accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, but as a potential key witness. Reports say she's cooperating with the DOJ, naming over 100 individuals connected to Epstein's trafficking ring. She's received limited immunity in exchange. The gut reaction is predictable. Too little, too late. And that may be true. Maxwell was the one who made it all seem polished. She facilitated the grooming, normalized the abuse, and dressed it up as opportunity. She was a central architect of the harm, but, and here's where it gets uncomfortable, what if she was also groomed? And does it matter? If she was also a victim or survivor, they won't believe her. And now that her perceived power was striped away by the jail uniform, her criminalized status gives them even more excuses not to believe her, regardless of what she tells them. List or no list, raised under the control of a domineering father, socialized to equate proximity to power with worth, mentored, if you can call it that, by a man who exploited every weakness she had. Does that excuse her role? Absolutely not. But in this movement, we understand that two things can be true at once. Ghislaine Maxwell is both an abuser and someone who may have been coerced into patterns of control that predated Epstein. She's both culpable and human. She is not a scapegoat, but she is also not a cartoon villain. She's a reminder that complicity and survival often collide in messy, painful ways, especially for women raised in systems that equate silence with loyalty. Compassion doesn't mean forgetting. It means refusing to dehumanize, even when holding someone accountable. It means asking, What could have changed if she spoke sooner? It means acknowledging the pain of the people who didn't get the chance to speak at all. Survivors and sex workers are still fighting to be heard. This week we heard from members of our own community. Here's what some had to say. They didn't want my story. They wanted a soundbite they could use to justify more cops. Survivor, SWOP Behind Bars correspondence. I kept track of names for my safety. Now I'm the one on a registry. Former full-service worker, currently incarcerated. The list isn't justice. The list is bait, and we're not taking it anymore. Advocate, SWOP hotline volunteer. So where do we go from here? We don't need another headline. We don't need another meme. We need something harder, a reckoning. We need a shift in focus. From fantasy to function, from list chasing to listening, from moral panic to power analysis. And we need the public to stop asking, where is the list? And start asking, who got protected? Who got punished? Who got erased? Because we've always had the names. That's never been the issue. The issue is what happens when we stop being afraid to speak them out loud. Take action this week. Share survivor stories from sex workers and trafficking victims in their own words, not filtered through mainstream media. Push back against conflation of sex work and trafficking in local policy, media, and conversation. Call out carceral solutions that do more harm than good, and advocate for survivor-led, community-based alternatives. Donate to organizations led by sex workers and survivors, not on their behalf, with them. Coming this Wednesday, Who Gets Erased? A closer look at media machinery, legal indifference, and public amnesia by Frenchie, an 8-month pregnant homeless sex worker and disability rights activist navigating instability and state surveillance.